Good evening. We're just waiting for a few more board members to come on to the call, and then we'll get started. Okay, we now have quorum. Giselle, you can get started.
Okay, welcome everyone. Good evening. So we're gonna go over some ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear and you should find the raise hand function there. If you still have technical difficulty, you may click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. The chat function should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. Please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom and wait to be recognized. Okay, we're gonna call to order the meeting at 6:38 p.m. Carly, can you do the roll call?
Sure. Reha,
Here.
Chan,
Yes. Present.
Horton,
Present.
Mac. She won't make it. Maleve,
Present.
Meyer,
Present.
Perez. Perez,
Present.
Sanders, Torres, Chomsky,
Present.
Whitaker. Okay, we have quorum.
Okay, thank you, Carly. The next part is the adoption of the agenda. Any objections? All in favor of adoption of the agenda? Carly, is that right? Am I doing that right?
If no one objects, then it's
Okay. No objections, so we can continue, I would say. Okay. Announcements.
I'll read them for you.
Thank you.
If you would like. Okay, I'll read them.
Sure.
The Restaurant Resiliency Program is now open, accepting applications. $25 million was included in the New York State budget to provide grants to restaurants, eateries in underserved communities to feed food insecure people. The more information, the link to view more information is included in the agenda. On October 5th, the Department of City Planning and the Department of Transportation announced a citywide design engagement process for permanent open restaurants programs regarding design rules on permanent outdoor dining setups located on city streets. Co-led by DCP and DOT, these in-person and remote roundtables will take place throughout New York City this fall and winter. Specifics on these public outreach sessions will be listed on the DOT webpage dedicated to open restaurants. That's also linked to on the agenda.
Okay, informational updates. So Marissa wanted to, she sent out a link today for a future project that we have wanting to start on the committee. So if all of the members can pretty much go into that link when you guys have time. And she wants us all to list out things to do for each month. So she assigned 1 month to each of the members. We will then go into the minutes of that month, revisit the YouTube video, revisit the meeting, and list out things for that specific month that you feel we need to follow up on. I believe it's an Excel sheet that she sent out, and you can look for your name. And I believe the month that she assigned. So she would pretty much like everybody to be prepared the next time we meet with that list of suggestions that we need to follow up for. And those are my informational updates for today. The next, we can introduce Miss Carrie King from Uptown Grand Central.
Hello, good evening. I don't have too many updates. I won't keep you too long, but just some exciting things that are going on. The Open Streets program in East Harlem is going to continue through the end of October. So we have, and I have a 4-year-old in the background who may be giving us some background noise. I apologize. October. Okay. He knows his months. Thank you. And this is for recording. So the Open Streets are going to go through the end of October. We've had the Open Street at 101st Street since May. And there's about 18 businesses around that Open Street. And then the Open Street at Pleasant Avenue between 118th and 119th is open for about a month. That one's structured a little bit differently. There's fewer businesses in the area, but that one's supported by MAP at Wagner. So that one has a real focus on connecting Wagner with the community. And we do have small businesses associated with that as well. In fact, that Laura is going to be delivering some meals out there in a couple weeks. Both of the Open Streets will conclude with Halloween, and Councilmember Ayala is sponsoring lots of Halloween. So we've got candy apples and candy, and we have a lot of community organizations that are going to come out to give out the candy, face painting, photo booths, and stuff like that. So that'll be on the 31st at each Open Street from 2 to 6 p.m. Open Street trick or treat. So those things are going on, and I think Community Board 11 is going to be out there, so we just got to get all that coordinated. In addition, Harlem Restaurant Week is coming up, and it's going to be closer to Thanksgiving than it has been in the past. That's coordinated through Harlem Park to Park, so look out for that. And then just also on the horizon, in addition to all the great programs that have already been mentioned, LISC, the Local Initiative Support Corporation, and Verizon have just launched this big program called Verizon Digital Ready, and East Harlem has been selected as a target neighborhood for that. So that's a big platform that offers these quick educational videos that small business owners can take on their phone, and there's like a quiz, and I've done some of them, and they're actually pretty good. I learned from them, and so they're going to be offering that to East Harlem. So we will be rolling out more information about that in coming weeks. And I think that's it.
Giselle, are you on mute? I think she might be frozen. So if anyone has any questions, please raise your hand.
Any questions?
Raise my hand.
I'm sorry, my screen froze for a minute, Carly. Where did you guys leave off?
Just ask if the committee has any questions, and if they do, please raise your hand. I think I heard someone speak, but I didn't recognize the voice.
Okay, I believe. I don't see any hands raised. Carrie, what was the name of the?
It's called, I think the question is, it's called Verizon Digital Ready. Verizon and LISC Digital Ready. So we'll be rolling that out in a few weeks. And hopefully it's helpful. I think during the pandemic, all of us, including these wonderful community board meetings, have become more accessible because you can do it on your computer. And I think people are learning from that. So hopefully it makes the class. Used to be you had to go downtown or go to some office for a small business class, and hopefully it can just become more available.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Next, we have Mr. Pablo Guzman from Union Settlement.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Pablo here. I don't know if you can see me or not. I see Giselle. Hi, Giselle. And As a quick report of the activities from Union Settlement from the East Harlem Working Together program, I can say that we've been very busy on the last 3 weeks with plenty of small business owners asking questions and asking for help with all the different programs that are available to them, grants and loans and refunding and the food program. And I kind of concerned that with all the information that is out there that is very clear, most small business owners are disoriented. I don't know. I think it's something that probably we should look into as a group and find out what the disconnection is, but they keep coming back to us asking for information on the programs. That is there. All we do is just take them there and read it to them and say, this is like this. But that we've been doing a lot lately and you know, funneling them into the program to ensure they're gonna get benefited by them. And gladly, we've seen many of them now receiving the benefit of these programs, all right? Second, wanted to report that, I don't know, I think I reported the last time that we had completed the phase 2 of the small business grant that was given to a new round of those who could not apply before, and we end up granting additional $300,000 in the neighborhood for those who had not applied before. And we're getting ready to launch now the phase 3. Phase 3 is going to be by invitation only, and is to allocate the extra $300,000 that I left there on the table among those who applied under phase 1. We are just finishing the terms and conditions. EDC already approved the program, and we should be launching it this Thursday, notifying everybody who received phase 1 that they're going to receive a kicker. It's going to be about 10% of what they received in the phase 1 program. And let me see, do I have anything else there for you guys? There's a classification. And I think basically that will be it. And if anybody has any questions, I'm here to respond.
I don't see any hands raised. Thank you so much, Pablo, for those updates.
One quick thing. Sorry, I forgot. I'm trying to get it in touch with property owners, and basically on the commercial corridors, it's a bunch of initiatives that I want to undertake, and they wouldn't be possible unless the property owners are engaged. And asking for help from maybe the community board, if they can assist me, getting in touch with property owners. I see them not present in anything. They rarely go to the meetings, to the community board meetings. And many of them, they don't even live in East Harlem. But I'm trying to try to connect with them and see where they stand in keeping the neighborhood good, keeping their block in good standing and all that. So I don't know if you have tried before similar initiative, and I would like to know what was the outcome of that, or that has never been tried. I have my own contacts already, but it's not enough. I have like 10 property owners. That is not enough. I'm trying to get like 50 or 60 engaged.
Pablo, is any of that information that you need on, let's say, like a website, or is it possible that maybe even we can help with that? Look up, you know, there's usually information on buildings and like who the owners are, and maybe they have some information on who the landlords are of the specific buildings that we would need. Do you think that?
When I completed the needs assessment for the corridor, for the district, I spent good time getting to them, and I got a good number of them. I have already, unless some of them may have sold their properties, but from from 2016, I have a good listing of property owners, but the problem is they don't want to be, I mean, I didn't feel it was good to call them out of the clear blue. They're going to say, how did you get my number? No, they want to hide, and then I come calling on them. So I'm trying to see if I can have a soft opening. If somebody has already a contact with them and say, you know what, Pablo from Union Settlement would like to talk to you. He's going to call you. So then it doesn't fall from a clear blue. Trying to see if any association, any organization in East Harlem has contact, regular contact by whatever means with property owners, so can serve as a bridge for us to get in touch with them.
If you give your email, I can try to send some.
Yes, by all means, I will.
And you're looking mainly for people in the commercial corridor?
Yes and no. What happened is, let me give you an example. We've been trying to abate rat problems in the commercial corridor, because that's where the rats are. Wherever the restaurants are and the big buildings are, there are rats. So many of these things could be abated or reduced or minimized, having a sensible conversation with the property owner and getting them engaged to do their part. Some buildings are kind of abandoned there, and they don't even clean the front. They are minated with rats, but they don't do much. You have to call the city, then there is a complaint, then they come, half fix it, and then 2 months later it's go back to where it was before. I think it needs, like, we need to sit down and talk to them and see what's the situation, how we can help, how you can help.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and we're gonna need all help possible, all help.
Yeah, I mean, I can help if you maybe put me on your mailing list or whatnot. I'm in touch with some of them. Partly because my block has rat problem, and then we go and call different building owners.
I will send you an email, Eva. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you so much, Eva, for that question. I believe Jenny Tromsky has also a question for you.
Hi, it's actually less a question than just following up on the first thing that you mentioned about the grant programs for small businesses lately, and the kind of confusion that you've been hearing from your entrepreneurs. I just wanted to mention, and I'll follow up with an email too to discuss this too, but I just wanted to mention that I'm actually a partner for the Small Business Recovery Grant Program through Brooklyn Navy Yard, actually. But I'm here to kind of help everybody. And of course, I have a vested interest in helping East Harlem as well. So if you have anybody who is confused about that program, please send them my way. I've been helping, I've probably helped about 200 people at this point, and a lot of them have been getting the grant. So if you, if you want, anybody can send people my way when it comes to the Small Business Recovery Grant, or the other things that Empire State Development is doing, which is there's a restaurant return to work credit and a childcare credit, provider credit, and I can help with any of that. So like I said, I'll follow up with an email, but I just wanted to mention it here.
Yeah, I'll send you an email also, and so you can give me the contact information for this resource. And then, yes, I will be glad, because we have a lot on the table at this moment. It would be nice to have somebody to receive some of that flow. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jenny, for that question. I don't see any more hands. So I would like to move on to the presentations and discussion.
Okay, first up, we have an informational presentation from regarding the Department of Small Business Services Black Entrepreneurs New York City program. And I believe we have Ken on the line. Do you need to share your screen?
Hi, Carly. Yeah, that would be helpful. All right. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to Community Board 11 Economic Development Committee. My name is Ken Eby. I am the Executive Director and Chief Development Officer of Black Entrepreneurs NYC. We're an initiative of the New York City Department of Small Business Services. And as in our title, our express purpose is to provide information and resources and other support to help Black entrepreneurs and business owners, and to try and, through entrepreneurship, address the racial wealth gap. I want to share a quick presentation that'll just give you an orientation to what we do at BNYC. And I specifically want to provide information on a new program that we rolled out in August called BNYC Access Consulting, which is in partnership with Ernst & Young, the global consulting firm, which provides 2,000 hours of pro bono consulting services for business owners and entrepreneurs here in the city. I should mention all of our programs are open to the public. This is an application program, and so there is no prohibition for anyone who's interested in the programs and who wants to apply. And I just want to make sure that is clear. So let me go ahead and share this screen. This is usually where some theme music is helpful, but I don't have my own theme music. I don't think it's pulling up the right. Okay, here we go. Great. Okay, can you see the screen now? Give me a
Yes,
thumbs up if you can see it. Okay, great. We're going to go to the full screen mode. Okay, great. So as you may know, SBS is the city's economic development arm. It's small business services is a bit of a misnomer because the agency does workforce development training, does certification for the city's MWBE program, and a whole host of other programs. So you're familiar, and it's just helpful to know kind of that our work here at SBS is really to try and create economic security for all New Yorkers through good jobs, stronger businesses, and thriving neighborhoods. And we're in all 5 boroughs and all throughout the city. So over the course of the pandemic, SBS has provided a tremendous number of services to businesses. And as you can see, we have a pretty significant amount of effort placed into equity of opportunity. So 33%, or 1 out of every 3 loans that were awarded to business owners here in New York City went to minority-owned businesses. And 84% of the services provided over the course of the year were really provided in languages other than English, which is a great indication of that commitment to equity. This is a little bit about me. I think other than the fact that I'm wearing a different shirt, everything is pretty much the same. I was appointed last November, and I am an entrepreneur myself, an attorney by trade. I previously worked in the city as head of external affairs for the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, and also had the opportunity to run the campaign for the first African-American district attorney in Brooklyn, the late Ken Thompson. But this is kind of the work that I've done that has led me to this particular role and this work, which I think is really an important piece of our city's overall economic recovery. So this initiative was launched in September 2019. It really is the first of its kind initiative in any major American city to address the racial wealth gap through business ownership and entrepreneurship. And we are really approaching this work with a couple goals in mind. First, coming out of, or kind of working through the pandemic, trying to help Black business owners navigate some of those challenges that are presented by the health crisis that led to the economic crisis. And second, big picture, trying to increase the number of Black-owned businesses in New York City. Really, the notion, I guess the thesis is that entrepreneurship and business ownership is the key to addressing the racial wealth gap. And I'm sure the Economic Development Committee can attest to the importance of this work in our communities, supporting small businesses and business ownership. We're also run really by the principles which I attribute to an old African adage that I heard very early in my life and often throughout my life, that if you want to run fast, you run alone. If you want to run far, in fact, I'd say if you want to run far and fast, you run together. So we're doing our work through some tremendous public-private partnerships, which I'll run through shortly. But we have 4 particular pillars of work that really structure all of the programs that we run. And they're really aimed at trying to achieve systemic change for a more hospitable environment and climate for Black business owners looking to start and scale businesses. We're looking to provide information and resources and access to financing opportunities for these businesses. We're looking to help build out and strengthen professional networks and provide professional advice. We also are looking through the city procurement process in particular, providing information on how to get certified, and then kind of back office support for how businesses can actually compete and successfully obtain and then successfully execute these contracts, looking to help scale Black businesses through that and other means. And fourth and most kind of the most creative piece is trying to figure out ways to create opportunities in high growth industries in New York City for business ownership. As I mentioned, we have 5 key partnerships with MasterCard, EY, Ernst & Young, Goldman Sachs, Founder Tribes, which is a UK-based education tech platform and mobile app. And we have a great partnership with the Brooklyn Navy Yard. So Jenny may be familiar with or interested in this, where we are going to be establishing a brick and mortar facility at the Brooklyn Navy Yard to help cultivate businesses for the economy of tomorrow, and 5 high growth industries in particular. We're conducting a number of efforts to get the word out about our work and to try and convene and help to lead the conversation about the state of Black business in New York City as it relates to the rest of the country. And a lot of our research, a lot of our programs rather, are based in the research that culminated in our report called Advancing Black Entrepreneurship in New York City, which we released last August. We're looking to release an update just to give an update on what we've been up to over the past year. And we've hosted a number of events and reached over 1,000 present and aspiring entrepreneurs through these events, including our first ever 5-borough Black Business Forum, which brought small business owners together from across the 5 boroughs and enabled them to connect with some really good experts who could speak to issues ranging from access to capital to how do you build community for your business, to how do you access government contracts, and then a little bit of a preview on industries that are moving forward here in New York City. So we have 5 programs that we have rolled out and that we are running. The Digital Doors webinar series is an e-commerce webinar series that we have done in partnership with MasterCard. All of these programs, mind you, are at no cost to New Yorkers. Some of them are just require registration. Some of them require an application process. But this has been a very successful program, particularly for businesses that are looking to transition from doing their business in brick and mortar facilities solely to getting online and doing online commerce. So it provides best practices and connections to some very successful entrepreneurs who have navigated issues ranging from how do you set up your presence online as a business to how do you really establish a customer base in that particular realm, to how do you conduct transactions, financial transactions, without making your business vulnerable to cyber threats and cyber criminals. We have a Shop Your City segment of the Shop Your City campaign, which is focused on highlighting and promoting and trying to provide support for Black-owned small businesses. It's called Shop Your City BNYC. We launched in April a program called the Bnyc Startup Intensive, which is really an incubator for entrepreneurs who are early stage entrepreneurs looking to establish businesses in some of the high growth industries in New York City. It's an 11-session research-based course, intensive as the name states, and actually with all of our programming, it kind of illustrates our focus on addressing gender equity within the context of this particular initiative. And we have one cohort that is a general cohort for entrepreneurs and a separate cohort which is explicitly for women entrepreneurs. We have our BNYC Mentors program, which is focused on pre-startup and early stage entrepreneurs, connecting them with experienced mentors for one-on-one training sessions, group sessions, and larger events where you can connect with some of the opinion leaders and some of the more successful entrepreneurs who are based here in New York City. So that's a great program. We're going to be relaunching it, expanding it in November to be more, to touch more mentees and to get more industry specificity along with business stage specificity for where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, having that mentorship tailored to where you particularly are. What I wanted to speak to you about today is a program, as I mentioned, that we rolled out in August called BNYC Access Consulting. And it's really exciting. We have, based on the research, identified the need for professional services and advice. Less than 40% of entrepreneurs who were surveyed by our seminal report last August indicated that they had access to good or adequate mentorship and advisors in a professional setting. So given the historic challenges faced, including limited access to capital, whether it's bank loans or predatory credit policies, we think that, and we've seen that the pandemic has made it an even more important issue for business owners to get access to advice and advisors. So doing that with limited time is a bit of a challenge. So enter BNYC Access Consulting through this partnership. Mayor de Blasio, our Commissioner John L. Doris here at the Department of Small Business Services, and Ernst & Young announced this ability to really provide resources from the private sector to connect Black entrepreneurs with some of the important information and guidance that helps make a business successful. So this is along with the other programs that we've run through BNYC to address the needs of underrepresented business owners. It's a 3-component course. The meatiest aspect of this is the one-on-one consulting. So we're going to be, through our partnership with EY, providing 2,000 hours of pro bono consulting services. That is 4 hours per business. So we hope to serve up to 500 businesses through this initiative. And in addition to that, there will be a resource hub that EY will provide access to, called the Entrepreneurs Access Network. And that will have resources and information from some of the leading experts there at EY. And then also we will be rolling out later an interactive kind of online group learning session, cohorts rather, that have sessions that enable business owners, entrepreneurs to have face-to-face interactions with fellow entrepreneurs, as we've seen that particular format to be very helpful for people who are running businesses who don't have very much time, but who can trade information, experience, and also build business relationships with people in those cohorts. So that's something we're going to be rolling out as part of BNYC Access Consulting as well. So what are the qualifications? Very simple. You have to be a for-profit business based in New York City, and you have to qualify through the definition of a small business according to the US Small Business Administration. And there is a link to the website that enables you to put in the information on your business, including your revenue and to get a sense of whether you qualify as a small business. This is not really something that we found to exclude many of the businesses that we are reaching out to and that are interested in the program. So how do you apply from that point? You go to the website, it's nyc.gov, BENYC Consulting, and you enter, create an account, you submit your business information. You'll receive a call from one of our intake specialists who will ask a few additional questions about your business needs. And ultimately, if you're accepted, you will be paired with a consultant from Ernst & Young to schedule your consulting sessions. So the categories here that this program touches on include access to capital, one-on-one mentorship, how do you acquire customers, how do you manage finances, and some advice on obtaining affordable workspace, networking efficiently, and other tools for your learning and development as an entrepreneur. So we're asking for all of our partners, including Community Board 11 and the Economic Development Committee, to help us spread the word to your members and to your constituents through social media. I will follow up with the board, with the committee chair, with our social media kit, and would love if you could help us spread the word about this on social media to the extent that it would be beneficial to your constituents. And that's pretty much it. So I hope that you will, again, I'll put my information in the chat, but I hope that you will spread the word about BNYC Access Consulting and BNYC in general. And please feel free to go to our website and check out all of the programs and the resources we have available. That's nyc.gov/BENYC. And thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you so much, Ken, for that presentation. I'm very excited. It sounds like a program that's going to benefit our communities a lot. And before I open up any other questions, I wanted to ask, I know that you put the application process up, in the link. I wanted to know is the application process, I would say more or less like easy to fill out. I only ask because I know the younger, or I would say our generation, knows mostly how to work computers and, submit applications. But I do notice that there are a lot of, elder people who want to, they're just not that savvy in technology. So do you think that it's an application that, it's fairly easy for everyone of all ages to be able to fill out and submit?
It is, I think it's an application that is online, and we try to make all of our programs accessible. What I would suggest is if you know anyone who may not be as tech savvy, or if anyone who is interested in this program would like some additional guidance, they should please feel free to reach out to us. I'm including my email here, but I'll also include my my phone number, and we can schedule some time to actually walk through the application. Right now, the application is online, but I think for people who are interested, we can find a way to make sure that it is easier to get through that application. It's not lengthy, but to your point, I think accessibility, particularly for people who are not technically savvy, may require some additional support, and we're happy to provide that.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. I'll open up for any questions. I don't see any raised hands at the moment, but I'll give it a minute to see if anyone has any questions for Ken.
And I've included my email address in the chat and the websites for BNYC, for our listserv to get any updates on our programs, particularly when programs are opening up for registration, and also the link to the BNYC Access Consulting Program. I can say that it is not, there's a tremendous amount of bandwidth capacity. We have some dynamic professional consultants who have volunteered their time and who are looking to really work with business owners to help help bring forward the economic recovery of this city. And we know it's through small business that that's going to happen. So, you know, we are still accepting applications. There are still a lot of people who are just waiting to connect with small businesses and to support them. So we encourage you to reach out. And, you know, again, I will share our social media kit with the Economic Development Committee, and would really appreciate if you could help us spread the word. It's a great program, and we want to get it in the hands of business owners who need it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again. I believe Carly Wine has her hand raised.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for the presentation. So I'm Carly. I'm the Assistant District Manager at CB11. I manage the board's social media accounts as well as our newsletter. So I'm going to drop my email in the chat, and you can just if you forward me the information, I'll be happy to share it. I did have a question about the EY one-on-one consulting pro bono hours. So you mentioned that they have donated 2,000 hours of pro bono services. Is that just like a one-time sort of deal, or is that something that renews each year? Or you know, if not, what happens when those hours are all used up?
That's a great question, Carly. Great question. And thanks for asking it, because I think it's important to clarify that, you know, the programs that we have here at Bnyc, there's nothing kind of surface about them. And I think that the question raises the important point, which is, you know, what is going to happen with 2,000 hours that are spread out over 500 businesses? What can you know, what kind of leaps and bounds can you make in 4 hours that are really going to change your life and the trajectory of your business? The answer is you're not going to change your life in 4 hours, but you're going to get some critical direction, and we think that in addition to that direction, you'll have a relationship that you will continue to be able to lean back on for additional support and potentially advice for direction. So we really think that building out relational capital is important. We're starting with 2,000 hours with what is essentially a pilot program. This is the first program and the first deployment of these hours. We are looking to get more. This is their initial commitment. We would like to get additional hours from EY after we've demonstrated proof of concept, but we're also looking to establish partnerships with other firms that will be able to bring additional hours to the table for New Yorkers. So that's kind of long and short what the answer is. It's a start, but it's definitely not the end all be all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carly, for your question. Thank you so much again, Ken, for attending tonight and for your presentation. And we hope to, you know, hear from you soon and start engagement with BNYC.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me. And I'm sorry I have to run now, but please, my email is in the chat. Oh, there's Carly's email. Great. I'll take that down. And please feel free to reach out to me and sign up for our listserv, as I said, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you. Okay, that takes us to our next presentation for the new Golf Entertainment Center on Randall's Island. Good evening, Mr. Paul Ballman.
Good evening. Thank you for having us this evening. I'm joined by Ricardo Zarita, who is our architect on this project. We're very, very excited to be bringing golf back to Randall's Island. As you all probably know, the former golf center has been closed nearly 3 years and fallen in disrepair. And the city conducted an RFP in which we presented plans to build a golf and entertainment center out there. It's what we call Drive Shack, and it incorporates not just traditional golf, but also adds a technology enhanced layer to the golf, so that players of all ages can enjoy it, all skill levels can enjoy it. little bit of background on me. I've been with American Golf Corporation for going on 25 years now. And we've been running golf courses in New York City since the early 1980s. We run courses for the New York City Parks Department in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, in Queens, and in Staten Island. So we've had a long history operating in New York City, and the Drive Shack concept is one of two concepts that we've added to our traditional golf business, in attempts, again, to get non-traditional golfers introduced to the game. So really excited to be able to bring this major improvement to Randall's Island. And with that, I'll let Rick take us all through the site plan and the plans, and then I'll circle back with some additional comments, and then we can open up the floor for questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having us here. Carly, are you going to share? Thank you. Right. This will be a brief presentation. Some of you know me or know, I should say, the work of our firm. We've been involved on Randall's Island for about 20 years and with you, with Community Board 11. We're the architects of Icon Stadium, the Tennis Center, those bright orange comfort stations that hopefully, or that I know are well used. Those are all our designs. The golf center is a very important next chapter in the life of Randall's Island and East Harlem. Since Randall's Island, in fact, is your backyard. So I'm very excited about this project. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. Here are some images of four of the projects. The lower left project is the substation, which is a very quiet building, but it brought power to the northern half of Randall's Island, and really has made everything possible in terms of its transformation and the ability to have these very large, first-rate and small, like the comfort station, these projects function. Next, please. The site itself, some of you know, Paul mentioned it's been closed for some time. It's in the years that it's been closed, it's deteriorated quite rapidly, and I'll show you some images. It's a 16-acre site. It's in the part of the island that is called the Harlem River Fields, and just north of Randall's Island on this slide, you could see, I'm sorry, just north of Icon Stadium. You can see Icon Stadium kind of peeking from the bottom. Two things are quite notable about this. It's sort of this large 16-acre open site is sort of wedged into the crook of the elbow of the RFK Bridge. So that's on the north and east. And actually, to get to the golf center, for any of you that visited the old golf center, most people, if you took the bus, for example, you had to go underneath the north-south span of the bridge to enter the site. So let's go to the next one. These are just some images. What's there right now is a 80 bay, two-tier structure. It's in poor shape. You can sort of see here on the upper right is a view looking west, and the lower, that long photograph is a view looking east. And I think what's quite notable is not the architecture at all. It's the fact that the site itself is ringed by these very large mature trees all around the site. Most of them are over 75 years old. Some are quite magnificent, and we plan on being good caretakers to these mature trees. Next, please. But you can see again, the grounds are sort of quite untended. Here's a view above looking south. You can see the Harlem River kind of peeking through those trees to the right. You'll be able to see Icon Stadium and Parkland to the south, and even some of the little bit of the skyline all the way, the Midtown Manhattan skyline all the way down to the south. The bottom view is looking, excuse me, looking west towards East Harlem. You can see the two towers of the Manhattan span of the RFK Bridge. This is the landing area, and again, it's overgrown and untended. Next, please. So this is the proposal. Right now, if going from right to left. Right now, the main entrance is through the parking lot. We're changing that. We're keeping and improving this small parking lot, and actually continuing the roadway, so you actually enter the site. You can be dropped off at the new building. The new building you can see in the center of the site, and I want to point out just a couple of notable elements of the site plan. The existing building itself right now is about 100 yards to the east. And what we're doing by moving it west is essentially opening up half the site to the park. This area to the right that you'll see will be passive parkland. Right now, much of it is paved. Much of it has these concrete pads and different structures. That'll all become parkland. This sort of almost sort of V-shaped line of trees is an alley of really magnificent sycamore trees that were planted about the time when the Triborough Bridge was being built in the 30s. And then I think what else is the other thing that's notable is that the building itself will have handicap access, and will have a very notable access. We've added some parking that is pushed against the upper limits up along the RFK Bridge. Next, please. And then quickly, I'll just talk about the plan a little bit. It's pretty straightforward. There are 4 components to it. The central component is public. The bottom plan shows the entrance. It's a large lobby space with food service to the right, which is open to the public. And I'll talk a little more about that in a second. There are also public bathrooms behind this sort of bar area that again is open to the public. So the entire building is open to the public. The central area is a very public area. The area to the right is back of house. So on the ground floor, offices, loading, things like that, mechanical rooms. On the right in this sort of square shape with the circle is a miniature golf structure. And there are 2 9-hole courses that Paul could talk a little more about. Second floor, again, the central area is very public. What you see on the right side, this back of house, is a full service kitchen for the facility. So again, the food services, it will be a big part of the facility. And then the third floor has, again, a large lobby, just a roof for back of house on the right, the roof of the mini golf on the left with a terrace, a small terrace overlooking the park, and the roof of the mini golf. And of course, most importantly, facing west are 3 tiers of 32 stalls for hitting golf balls. Next, please. This is a preliminary, sort of in progress views of what you might see. So the east elevation is the entrance elevation. It faces part of the bridge. It's what you see as you come in from underneath the bridge. The mini golf structure is on the left, the sort of very open, glazed, glassy public area is in the center with the entrance, and on the right is the back house that we've placed towards the bridge, closer to the bridge. On the west facade, it's very much form follows function. We have 3 tiers of golf courses, very open. They're open air, and you can see the 32 stalls on each floor facing. Again, this is a little bit abstract because in fact the site is heavily treed along its perimeter. So we've taken the trees out so you can see it better. Next, please. This is a view from the entrance, and you can see the miniature golf, the mini golf structure, excuse me. Excuse me. The entrance to the right a little bit, and then beyond the back of house. Next, please. And then on the other side, on the west facade, you can see a little peak of Midtown in the distance, the Harlem River, sort of closer to you. Some of the obviously the 3 tiers of driving bays. I think what's most important, which I did not mention, is you see the cyclists and the 2 people carrying golf clubs. We are going to open up the site so you can access it from the north along the bridge if you come off the pedestrian path by bicycle or walking from East Harlem over the bridge. Right now, I'll show you in a second, it's sort of a no man's land. Or if you come from the Bronx and you come in under the bridge from the north side. So that's as important, I think, as anything else that this view is showing you. Next, please. And then just briefly, I'll touch on the environmental strategies for the building. Yes, it will have, it'll be a building that is very resource efficient in terms of water savings and energy efficiency. And I think there are 2 things that will make this extremely notable and appropriately so for this building. One is we are planning to generate a great deal, and we're still studying how much we can do with of energy with solar panels, and really take advantage of its location without other buildings sort of encroaching on it. And then stormwater management, because it is a park. This is a much larger building than what's there. It's a 70,000 square foot building. We are designing the project with a stormwater management system that does not add one single drop into the existing stormwater system of the island. So it's been very challenging, but quite important for us to do. Next, please. And then before I turn it over to Paul, I'll just talk a little bit about the sort of timeline. And this is sort of the big picture. We've gone to the Public Design Commission. We've been having conversations with them, and we're sort of taking a little break from them in order to engage with Community Board 11, with you. And we expect that to, we've met with 2 of the committees, as you know, Youth and Education. We just met with them last week. And we will go back to the Public Design Commission. It says October, but I apologize. It's really in November, and continue with them and hopefully come out intact and with approval by springtime. We are also involved with the Parks Department. Obviously, this is a public park, and we'll go back to them in early next year for a building plan review. And then, of course, if we line up all our horses, we'll be at the building department in March, June. Construction will start in June and be completed by the end of December of 2023. So I will turn this over to Paul now. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Before we move on, does anybody have any questions on the building design itself? Or? No? Okay. So as Rick mentioned, oh, sorry. Yes, Eva.
In this plan, do you also have a transportation plan? Because I feel like it's difficult to get to Randall's Island right now. It's not as accessible as, say, a Central Park.
Right, right. There is planned for shuttle service with, I believe, 4 stops in on the east side. And you know, we do expect that there probably will be a fair bit of Uber and driving out here. That's one of the reasons why we did increase the size of the parking lot. And I know I have personally taken the bus from 125th Street. It takes it's a little longer, but you know, there's also opportunities to get there from the walking bridge as well, which we've also done in our walks through the site.
What about from South Bronx and Astoria? I don't believe there's public transportation that can get to Randall's Island.
From South Bronx and Astoria?
Yeah, actually, Paul, if I could step in.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what, I think having worked on the island for 20 years, access is the big bugaboo. It is. There's no, I mean, you know, there's no other way to describe it. There's no subway, and New Yorkers get around by subway. That's the simple truth. We've talked to the MTA.
Mm-hmm.
We are current, and they've been very resistant. You probably have had very sort of frustrating engagements with the MTA because they want the cart to follow the horse, right? So we've done that. We've talked to them. Now, you know, in all sort of, you know, looking at the sort of big picture, in the last few years, pedestrian bridge was built from the South Bronx, which was a huge feat. Pedestrian bridges are just not built in Europe, you know, without sort of moving mountains. The TBTA, who we are talking to, we talked to them as recently as about a month ago. They've been tearing up the island. And I'm sorry, TBTA is the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority. They administer and manage the RFK Bridge. We've talked to them about improving access from East Harlem, and to their credit, and I would ask you to, you know, I think Community Board 11 has every right to reach out to them and have them show you what they're planning. We've worked with them, and actually we're quite encouraged because the pedestrian path, which I've walked from 125th Street, which is not pleasant, they are making plans to improve that, not just, you know, not just make improvements for vehicular transportation over the bridge. So with that in mind, we were very heartened, and when we started doing the site plan for Drive Shack, because really at the end of the day, that's all we can do, right? At this point, this is the site we have, and we right now there's one way to get into the driving range, right, through that little parking lot, which is an awful way to enter anything in a park, through a parking lot. So now we're making the site much more porous. And if you'd like, and I could talk to Carly and be very happy to share with you more images that we have. I didn't, you know, this is a sort of abbreviated presentation. We are, in fact, putting 2 additional entrances, including one that takes you directly onto the site from the pedestrian access of the bridge, of the RFK bridge. And the reason it's important is because now, you know, right now, if you land there, you have to go around this fenced area. You don't even know the golf center's there. That's a long walk. This 16 acres that you have to walk around, or 8 acres, right? That's kind of nuts. Now you'll be able to walk right through. If you want to play golf, great. If you want to get a snack, great. But now you're in the park immediately. And I think, you know, that's a game changer, you know, for us. So that's one thing. And then we added another entrance on the northwest corner, because if you're coming in from the Bronx by foot or by bicycle, you're coming in underneath the Manhattan span of the RFK Bridge. Again, you'd have to go all the way around this fenced off area. So now there's an entrance right there. So even though there are entrances for the license premises for Drive Shack, if you're just going to the park, you won't notice it. It won't make a difference. That in fact you can get fast. You can actually access the golf center much more quickly. You don't have to. You'll be accessing the park. So we're kind of chipping away as best we can, frankly. So that's my long answer.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind giving me your contact information, happy to talk further. I mean, I feel that this is a valuable green space, and you know, all 3 districts, South Bronx, Astoria, and East Harlem, don't have enough access to green space. But if it's mostly accessible by people with cars, then you know, it's still not benefiting the lower income people in the district. So having public transportation at a good frequency going back and forth to these 3 districts, I think it's critical if we want more people to be able to access your facilities. So I'm asking is, in your planning, please absolutely speak to MTA and make it part of your plan, for the sake of racial equality. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say, no, of course, just one last thing. When I say we, I mean my firm as the architects for Drive Shack is working very closely with the Parks Department and with RIPA, and both of those entities have so much more clout in terms of access. So I would urge you to, in addition to talking to us, because we all talk with each other, to certainly turn to them and put as much pressure as you feel you can, sort of you can place on these important entities that have some clout on the island.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So as Rick mentioned, we're elevating the experience of the driving range, and just to recap on what Drive Shack really is, it's a affordable, technology enabled next generation driving range that has interactive golf related games, again, for all ages and all skill levels. One of the beauties of our program is that you don't need your own equipment. All of the equipment to utilize the driving range is included in the bay rental price. The bays can actually service and seat 6 people, and that would be under the 1 bay rental price. Typical rental is $30 to $55 per hour, depending upon the day and the time. That equates to about $5 to $8 per person, and you get unlimited golf balls during your bay rental. And by comparison, if you think about the former golf center or most other driving ranges, accessible to the city or really anywhere, they're typically about $15 per person, and the number of golf balls are limited. You basically pay $15 for a bucket of balls, and when that bucket is gone, it's over. You'd need to purchase another one. Ours, again, is unlimited golf balls, so you can get a number of people in there enjoying it in a social atmosphere. As Rick mentioned, the restaurant is open to the public. We will have free Wi-Fi, and our hours of operation will be 9 a.m. to midnight. And it's midnight. It coincides with when the park actually closes. So as I mentioned, Drive Shack is an affiliate of American Golf Corporation. American Golf, like I said, runs 6 city public golf courses at 5 locations. And our heart is in the golf experience, and we'll utilize our experience with things like the Parks Foundation, et cetera, to optimize the impact of our programming. Some of the things that we are looking to offer is in particular free youth programs, because it's great to get folks exposed to golf at a young age. It's the best way to make this a lifelong recreational activity. And one of the things we've been talking with the Youth and Education Committee was actually outreach directly to local schools to partner with some phys ed programs, et cetera, so that we can get kids out there during the school year, in addition to the various summer camps that we'd be partnering with RIPA on. I can tell you that at the golf courses we run for the Parks Department, we host numerous high school golf teams. And we'd be looking to provide weekday bay play for practice and instruction to the schools that would be interested in doing that on maybe off days when they're not necessarily going out to play at the golf course. They still get an opportunity to hit balls and practice in a disciplined atmosphere with their coaches. At our other locations, we do provide discounted programming, programs called Fairways for Warriors, utilizing golf to help wounded veterans. And we have an inspiration golf program for people with disabilities. We're looking to partner with local nonprofit groups as well to host events and utilize the new space that will be out there in what is a very attractive park setting. If you could click to the next slide, Carly, please. The other thing that's very exciting about Drive Shack is, it's not a small facility, and it utilizes, it needs a lot of people to operate. We're expecting that we'll create 350 permanent jobs. Those will be in a wide range of positions, from hourly all the way up to the general manager position, and numerous management positions. So there'd be hourly and a number of salaried positions. Like I don't think I mentioned earlier, I personally have been in the golf business since I quit my paper route. I actually was one of those people who started in the business driving that golf cart out there with the cage on it that picked up the golf balls at the driving range. And now I've been 25 years with a national golf company. It's a great place to learn, to interact with people. And there's a lot of opportunities for upward advancement, taking yourself from hourly positions into ultimately managerial positions. So we look to partner with this committee, with Community Board 11, on recruitment opportunities to get the word out, and to hopefully draw on folks that are interested in perhaps a career in the golf industry. So. Thank you again for having us, and we can turn it over to any additional questions.
Thank you so much. I will look at any hands raised, and before I open it up for other questions, again, thank you for your presentation. I think that the addition of a new golf course on Randall's Island is going to benefit, hopefully, East Harlem a lot. I do believe we have the next Tiger Woods here in East Harlem. So I'm looking forward to that. I do have, we had some suggestions in terms of the free youth programs. What ages are you targeting for those free programs?
Likely middle school is when you start the programs and take that on up through high school.
Okay. I know that that's a great idea because that's also good exercise for them during those ages. We wanted to make a recommendation to perhaps maybe provide discounts to adults who live in who can prove that they live in our zip codes, specifically 10035 and 10029. We also feel it would be a good opportunity to bring families together. For example, a dad and a son, dad and daughter. If the adult is provided with some type of a discount, then, it would probably maybe, give more of an incentive for people to, take the bus and, the difficult transportation is already an obstacle, but perhaps if they have a discount, they can accompany their children while they're learning, and they can also, learn a skill or a sport, I would say. Are these programs competitive? Well, let's say you have a child or something that moves up and does very well. Do you guys offer after the program some type of like travel team where they can compete, I guess borough to borough?
We have not had that because the facility is so unique that everyone would have to play at this one facility, because they would literally have to travel to another state to be able to play an away game. But I think coming up with clubs or teams that could potentially stretch out and have competitions at this site for a variety of different neighborhoods / boroughs. I do like that idea.
Okay, that sounds like something that we can help with or start to have more conversation about. We also wanted you have the lists of jobs, which is great, and you also mentioned that you're going to connect with Community Board 11 on the recruitment opportunities. We wanted to make a suggestion, perhaps in order to create more of those positions where they could be lucrative to our community. At a minimum, perhaps maybe if you can offer at least 50% of the employment for people who live in our district. I think that would also, besides the transportation issue that we already mentioned, if they can pretty much have a little bit more of an opening for our residents in terms of these job positions. That was one recommendation. And in terms of also like qualifications for these jobs, we understand that, in our community, we also have residents who, let's say, have, some type of a record or something on their record that maybe impedes them from getting, certain positions. Are you guys open to carving out some type of job for formerly incarcerated residents?
We are required to do background checks, and we're subject to public auditing. So anything we tried to do there would have to be in compliance with public auditing. So I'd certainly have to review any of those requirements. But it's definitely an interesting thought to take under advisement.
Okay, well, thank you again. And I will see if we have any hands raised.
Giselle, you're on mute.
We have Jennifer Meyer with her hand raised, if you'd like to ask a question.
Yeah, I have a quick comment and a question. I just wanted to echo what Eva was saying about really making it accessible to residents of East Harlem. It seems like a little bit like it's something that is maybe created for others and that we're trying to incorporate the community, but I'd really like to see it be made for the community. I also wanted to know about the water usage. I know you said the facility wouldn't use as much water as a traditional facility. Does that include maintaining the greens?
So there won't be any irrigation for the golf landing area. I think the only irrigation we would have is in the, you're basically in the front areas where the drop off is. So yes, it would not require, you know, sort of the level of irrigation that you would see at a traditional driving range or at a traditional golf course.
Great, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Eva, you have your hand raised?
Yes, when do you expect to start to hire people? In how many years?
It'd start, let's see, what did we say, Rick, for the opening in June of June of 2023. It would start probably around the end of 2022 or extremely early in 23.
And are there any commitment that you can make regarding public transportation?
I don't believe
having you
so.
and RIPA together to advocate with CB11 maybe would finally make a difference.
We'd certainly welcome the assistance and support the advocating effort.
Because we reach out to RIPA, who isn't really interested.
We will definitely use what influence we have to get RIPA to work with us on this. And if we can have your support, that would be a tremendous backup. Or I should say not backup, I should say reinforcement.
I'll send you my email if you can send me your contact information.
Certainly.
That'll be really helpful. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you, Eva.
Okay, thank you again, gentlemen, for presenting. Have a wonderful evening. We hope to hear from you soon on any updates.
Thank you.
Great,
you again
thank
for
you
having
very
us.
much. Thank you.
Okay, we move on to our next part of the meeting, which is the committee discussion for our budget requests for 2023. Carly, if we could first review 2022 requests. Is it possible? I mean, I'm sure everyone was able to, you know, we all have access to that. Was everyone able to look at it and see, come ready with any recommendations, suggestions, additions?
Thank you, Giselle. I am covering for Angel tonight, but it does work out because I've been working on this, on the district needs and budget process. As you know, Giselle, because you're the vice chair of this committee and you're on the district needs and budget committee, and we work together. So we're lucky to have you leading the conversation tonight as well. But I want to give you a bit of information about how the committees I've been working with, how we've gone about reviewing these requests, and basically making revisions. So we've just been doing one by one, reading through each request, making recommendations to either keep requests or add them, remove requests or revise them. The staff, in order to facilitate the conversation, the staff has made recommendations based on public input, based on borough budget consultations and district budget consultations, based on input from committees and committee discussions, and also from based on responses from the previous fiscal year, whether they were funded or, simply lacking sufficient response. So we made recommendations as a way to facilitate the conversation. The committee is not required to accept our recommendations. It's just meant to start the conversation. If there is no feedback on each request, I am going to interpret that as the committee accepts the staff recommendations. So we encourage you to participate. And yeah, I also wanted to say that this committee is the last committee to review their requests. We have a certain number of requests that we are advised to submit by the Department of City Planning and the Office of Management and Budget. Those numbers are 40 for capital requests and 25 for expense requests. Right now, as it stands, there are 21 capital requests and 43 expense requests. So we are way over. I mentioned that because I want the committee to keep that in mind as we review the expense request. We certainly want the Economic Development and Culture Committee to have their fair share of requests, submitted. That said, it's important to be conscientious. We don't want to just, say yes to everything because it sounds good. We really want to be thoughtful in what we put forward. So without further ado, let's just get started. So the first request here is a capital request. It's to the New York Public Library to extend library hours or expand and enhance library programs. This is a capital request for the renovation of 125th Street Library Branch. And we recommended removing it because the project was funded in a prior fiscal year and the construction contract has been let. Does anybody have any comments? Do you disagree with the staff recommendation? The ones that have been funded are a little bit more straightforward. And please raise your hand. Oh, no, not you. Well, Giselle, you're the chair.
No, I was just gonna ask if we still have to raise our hands or is this an open discussion?
Just to keep it smooth, raise hands. I'm happy to acknowledge hands, but if no one's talking and there's no one to interrupt, you can hop in. But you're the chair, so go. Well, you're the acting chair.
Okay, I feel we should remove it since this project was funded. We spoke to NYPL and they seem to be moving in a very good direction with this project. And we are, I believe they're coming next month to talk to us and give us updates as well on, if not both or one of the requests that we had. So I'm okay with removing it if everyone else is.
If you object, go ahead and raise your hand. Let's just do it that way. Make it easier.
Okay.
Okay, seeing no hands, we'll move on to the next one. This is another request for the public library. We recommended removing this request because I actually don't know why we removed it. Angel is not on the call to provide support. It says here that funds are not sufficient. I do believe actually, and now it's coming back to me. I think that he recommended removing it at the recommendation of the agency during the district budget consultation. Were you on the line, Giselle, or is that what happened?
So
okay.
I do recall speaking about, we spoke about both projects and for some reason they put that funds were insufficient for this project, but I believe it's also moving forward. And I'm okay with removing it as well, only because we did discuss, this was last year sometime, we spoke to NYPL, and they did speak about Aguilar Library. And Carly, that both projects, one was funded and the other one, which is this one that we're talking about, is moving in like a positive direction. It's not just like dormant or sitting there, like they are working towards it. But does anybody feel like we should remove it for now or keep it?
I see no hands raised. I did just want to say that, yeah, now that I'm remembering that Angel did remove it at their recommendation. So they told him to remove it, or they told you all to remove it.
Okay. Yes.
Eva, I see that you
And
unmuted
like I
yourself.
said, they are.
No, I just want to second. It's okay. Seems okay to remove.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Giselle, didn't mean to cut you off.
No worries. It was just, pretty much adding to what you were saying, that the NYPL they are very engaged. They're coming next month. So hopefully we can get a follow-up on this particular request.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this next request was submitted by your fellow committee member, Eva Chan. It was a request to build Uptown Grand Central Station on 125th Street in a way similar to Fulton Station, Brooklyn's Atlantic Station, Grand Central in Manhattan. So I recommended revising this for a few reasons. The first is because it was initially submitted as a request to SBS, and this is definitely, if this were to be something that the community board supports, it would definitely fall within the jurisdiction of EDC as a capital request. So I categorized it under invested infrastructure that will support growth in commercial business districts. I also think that there is some room for just revising some of the language to be, just more concise and just more concise. So I'm going to read it aloud. I'm going to read it aloud. So major investments should be allocated to build an Uptown Grand Central Station on 125th Street in a way similar to Fulton Station, Brooklyn's Atlantic Station, or Grand Central in Manhattan. 125th Street is a strategic location that connects the railroad buses to the airport and multiple lines of subway station. There is no reason why 125th Street should not have a modern above ground space for transiting commuters. In this structure should be tenant, commercial retail space, performance space, and hopefully affordable housing above. I will say that I believe that there's similar language. There's similar language in the statement of district needs about creating like a transit hub there. I see there's a comment here from Jessica Morris. Consider future around the 2nd Avenue subway and Uptown Grand Central with the shift to remote work. Those commuting in from points north are more likely to stop off or use this hub as a resting point overnight, or also consider connection to LaGuardia, suspended elevation. Okay, so yeah, I would like to open it up to, I mean, Eva, since this is your recommendation, if you have anything to add, anything to support the request, I want to open that up to you. And then I also want to hear if, like what your fellow committee members think, whether they think it is, something they want to support in this year's budget request, something that they want to take back to the drawing table. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mainly want to see what other people think. When I went to Fulton Station, it looks really nice, and I just thought, you know, we deserve the same thing, again, for racial equity. So I'm gonna turn it over to you to see if anyone thinks it's a good idea.
Thank you. Giselle, I see you unmuted yourself.
Yes, I did. And I'm sorry, I had to step away. I had a little emergency upstairs. But do you think, Carly and Eva, that and everyone else, that we should be a little bit more specific in this, or is this specific enough to where you think that we can get some type of a response and not just like, you know, we'll follow up with you, no funds at the moment?
Well, require further studies.
Yeah, or require further studies, yes.
There's also
At this point, we kind of already responsive. I'm sorry, Carly, go ahead. Mine was a little late.
Oh, it's okay. You're breaking up, so go ahead. You should go ahead. I was just thinking out loud.
Okay. I'm not sure what do you think that we're, with this explanation, that it'll be, I guess, easier for them to be able to give us a response, or do we need to be a little bit more specific?
I think it is, so I want to, Carrie has her hand raised, and you know, as the executive director of Uptown Grand Central, I think that she probably has a lot to say. And then I'll respond after Carrie. Good.
Thank you. And I'm like, I had to join on my phone and my computer, so there's like two of me, and I can't cut myself off on the other on my computer. Thank you, Eva. This is a great request, and a lot of the language sounds like what we requested in several years ago when the Second Avenue Subway did their environmental needs assessment. The sentences even sound the same, which is great.
I had no idea, actually.
Yeah, it's great.
I just read it out a few days ago.
Amazing. And I can dig up the letter someplace. But so, yeah, and it's been, the Second Avenue Subway has been through a lot of different plans. They were gonna shrink the stations for a while. Now, I think with the new infrastructure money that hopefully is coming through, that there's been a lot more movement on the Second Avenue Subway. I think our Congressman Esplanade they're supposed to start having some more talks soon, is what I've heard. In terms of how that plays in with the statement of district needs, I mean, Carly, you know better than me about how you know what you should leave in and what you should leave out. I think it's definitely important to keep make sure that people still know that this is a priority, because what had happened before the infrastructure money is that the connection was never meaningful between the 456 and the Metro North, meaning that there was not going to be like an underground tunnel that would connect to the station from the 456 to the Metro North. People would still be forced to exit the 456. There might be a tunnel that connects the park, but they would still have to get out in the rain or the snow or the whatever, and then go outside and then go up the stairs at the Metro North. So they'd never made any meaningful connection. And I think in large part because they didn't want to touch the Park Avenue Viaduct. There were questions about, that's 130 years old and might not be the most stable thing. But there was never a plan to, when you're talking about those grand connections where it all interacts underground and then you have these great elevated ceilings and all that. I don't think that's ever been in the works. So I am very grateful for the concept. And I think keeping it in the conversation is great. How it plays into the statement of district needs, I'm not sure. But thank you for including it, because I think it's really important.
Yeah, I figured that you all have been probably working on it. I saw We Act for Environmental Justice also have some plan. And then I just thought that, it also should be on CB11 district need just as a support. It's not a new concept.
All right, my computer, I'm operating a lot of different things right now. I am editing this to incorporate the connection, to incorporate the Second Avenue subway. And then also I want to incorporate the connection to the Metro North. Normally, so I think Giselle, your question is a good one, and the sorts of questions we need throughout the budget process, as you know, just generally. I will say that capital requests, there's a lot more room for more capital requests. So I'm not opposed to keeping this request, even if it is, you know, I don't want to say it's far-fetched, but it's, you know, a big ask. So I see no reason why we shouldn't include it. It's not far-fetched. We deserve it.
Oh, they deserve it, exactly.
We deserve it, but we'll see. I think we all know the type of response we're gonna get. So,
And we get funding for East River Esplanade, you know, we just gotta start somewhere. Just keep fighting.
Yes, and advocating totally for more of this, like you said, transportation to East Harlem to get people here and just make it easier for people to, you know, for sure. So we can definitely keep that. Thank you so much, Eva. I'm just reading.
I'll make it more. I'll just make it better after, but
Yeah, I can see what you're doing.
yeah, in a way similar. Okay.
Carly, I can send you also, I would say by latest tomorrow, some language if you want, if it helps, some language to incorporate in that same thing. So just so you don't
Okay.
feel.
No worries. We want to get this done tonight. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one. This next one is also one submitted. Okay, so this is a request submitted by Eva. It was submitted to SBS initially. I adjusted it. Funding is needed to reduce noise generated from the above ground railroad from 110th to 125th Street so as to revitalize the business districts near and under the railroad tracks such as La Marqueta. Also, funding is needed to develop La Marqueta into a viable commercial recreational space. So I recommended, and it's nothing against the request itself, Eva, but I did not recommend addition of this. I'm happy to workshop it a little bit here on the floor for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that these are two separate requests in one, like completely separate. I think that grouping them together will diminish, you know, diminish. Yeah, and then the second reason is because the noise, reducing noise, that request would go, I would imagine, to MTA, which is New York City Transit, and that would then become a public safety and transportation request. The committee already met, and so not only did the committee already meet, but also we generally have really negative responses from New York City Transit Authority. So the way we are following up with Transit Authority is to we're just following up with them in a way other than through this process, because it just doesn't seem to be working. So that is the reason why that's just my recommendation. In addition, I would say that if the committee wants to include a request about La Marqueta, that the committee hash out like what it means to what it means to develop La Marqueta as a viable commercial recreational space. I feel like some people would argue that it is a viable commercial recreational space. So yeah, that's just what was on my mind. I don't know if you again wanted to respond if you wanted to respond or if you wanted to wait for committee members to respond. And I'm also,
was inspired by my neighbor who's been in Harlem for maybe 30 years, and she went to Essex Crossing and saw the new development, the food court and everything. And then, sadly, she came to me and said, why is our La Marqueta look like this versus Essex Crossing? And then I went to La Marqueta to ask, and they say there's indeed a plan to completely rebuild it. So I'm not being really creative here. It's just more lending support to a plan that exists with EDC. So I think they're hoping to be able to close up the space and improve noise shielding. I don't know the English word for it. Basically to rebuild the space and create a shopping mall and event space. So this is mainly just reflecting, a high level plan that EDC has.
okay. Is this, I try to keep in the loop, I try to be in the loop as with all the committees, but I already have so many of my own that I feel that I just kind of let Angel and Marlene completely, I let them take on the work of their own committees and I just stick with mine. So I might be ignorant. That's all to say that I might be ignorant to, the conversations that are happening around La Marqueta. So I'm not sure if the project you're referring to is something that's already funded. I personally don't know. I don't know much about it. Or is this related to the replacement of the MPA, the infrastructure?
It can only start after the MTA track renovation is done. I mean, I can't say for sure whether it's been funded, but there is some drawing, there's some plan, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody online actually have some more information about just a future
in the living room, my living room, of how they envision it, so it is a plan. Maybe Carrie knows. Carrie probably knows.
I would just say that, yeah, we've made I've made the request to MTA, DOT, anybody that will listen about noise, and that they don't know how to do it. I suppose with a lot of money, they could do it. But they say that, when they improve the tracks, that they're gonna, that the wheel noise is going to be reduced for various reasons, but still the fact that it's a large viaduct, the traffic is honking underneath it. Like at 125th Street, once you get all the sirens and everything added all together, plus the train, and it's a lot closer at 125th Street, the ground to the tracks. There needs to be significant change, and that would cost a lot of money. So, both that, and I'm not sure if lighting is in there too, but I know that, we've made those requests. So the opening here is the fact that they have to redo the viaduct. And so they're having to make some investments because of that. So we can we're able to make a few requests because they got to redo the whole thing anyway. And then they've also, they've got to tear down La Placita and build it new again. So that's, the openings are going to be in that process to make things different. All these things need to happen. So leave it in the district needs if you can. And is lighting in here anywhere? I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
No.
so
I figured that will be in public safety.
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah.
But I haven't added, I think I asked for it last year. I should check the days on.
Yeah, so we included lighting, and specifically lighting, Carrie, at the Metro North station in the statement of district needs. It's the committee removed the request from the budget request tracker because New York City Transit has been responding to us with like a boilerplate, like not even, it's a non-response. It's like, for more information, call this number, and then we call that number and there's no response. It doesn't by any means mean that the committee and the board is not advocating for, for that. It's just, this is one of the tools we have at our disposal, and capital requests are a little bit different than expense requests. But if we, in this instance, we're talking about capital. So, but still, the committee just is keeping it in the statement district needs, but just not including it in the budget requests. But also, I wanted to hear your feedback about a plan to redevelop La Marqueta. It's not something I'm familiar with. So do you have any insight to that, Carrie?
Not a lot. I just know that there was a lot of redevelopment plan that went into building the La Placita that is new. I think it was something around $10 million for that structure. And now with the viaduct having to get replaced, all of that's going to have to go away and be built again. So in terms of redevelopment, at least that block and some of the other blocks, that's going to kind of be the opening for doing more.
Okay, thank you. And I think that point you made, Carrie, is a good one. I wrote it down, like the openings in the process. And I think that's something that the Public Safety and Transportation Committee should take advantage of. And of course, I know the committee would be happy to work alongside the Economic Development and Culture Committee too, to advocate for something. But okay, thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
So I would like to hear what other committee members have to say, both about the request as it stands, my recommendation to remove it, if anyone has any recommendations for revisions.
I do have,
Yeah,
Marty, I think we should keep something pertaining to La Marqueta. If if noise doesn't fall under Echo Dev, then I'm assuming we can remove that part. But if we can bring some attention to, the development of La Marqueta in our request, I think it would be, kind of like the same situation with 125th Street, where it's like, there are plans in progress to make it better. And we can just, like Eva said, just add on to that support. And maybe get a little bit more specific, only in like commercial recreational space. Maybe put a line in there where we are not so much mapping it out for them, but just giving a sentence on what kind of businesses maybe already we know what's in the area. So maybe what businesses would need, the ones that are already existing, maybe something that they would also need in addition to that to help their business. For example, the urban space garden. Maybe adding something that would like directly help them in a way. Still in La Marqueta. I don't know how we would word it, but we could say commercial.
Yeah, I saw in another country, they built a skateboard park. You know how it became a sport in Olympic, and they built it underneath the railway, which can be really cool.
Yeah, and that would add lighting too, because I'm sure doing a space for, even though it's not commercial, but bringing a space to where they can maybe work out and then visit and see the other commercial spaces that already exist would bring.
Right, and that's a sports that you can do without hearing anything because it's so loud.
True. So the agency should focus on attracting, I would say spaces that can bring like potential customers to the businesses that already exist.
And yes, I think someone on the chat asked about Hot Bread Kitchen. It is true, they are leaving, sadly. So La Maqueta actually has a few open space to add back companies that use the kitchen facilities. Please help if anyone knows someone who needs a kitchen space. Also, the commercial space also has a few clients who left.
How's that? The agency should focus on attracting tenants that fill service gaps. So I was thinking about what you said, Giselle, earlier about, bringing businesses, like considering the businesses around the district, considering like what the district does not currently have, and attracting those sorts of tenants. And then Eva, you mentioned, this like the skate park. You mentioned bringing amenities in that might not mind the noise, so providing amenities and
any amenity that can be done despite noise. Like you can't talk to each other, but when you're skateboarding, you don't need to talk to each other. Maybe roller skating ring. I don't know. And maybe instead of using the word viable, maybe you can say robust.
Amenities.
Yes, that sounds great.
So last month we held a Asian festival there, Mid-Autumn Festival. We have around 40, 50 people there. People are really happy. And really the main issue is the noise. But it can be a great space. And that's why La Maqueta and I started talking. They were like thinking, can it have some Asian specialty stores? At least that will help attract some foot traffic that you can't find in other places, for example.
Okay,
Yeah,
is any,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Carly. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, is anybody opposed to the language that we have for in? Anyone in support of it? Anyone want to see anything else before we move on?
I'm in support of it.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna move on to this next one. All right. So these next couple of requests came in from Jessica Morris, who's not a committee member, but she had some ideas. Some of them were more fleshed out than others. This first request is to EDC and to invest in capital projects to improve access to waterfront. The request is to explore improving access to the East River Esplanade by adding an additional crossing across the FDR. I also had in mind, as we were talking to the folks at Drive Shack, the conversation around improving access to Randall's Island. I know that's something that the Parks Committee has explored submitting in the past, and I'm sure they have, but EDC has a specific request around improving access to the waterfront, and they have a large role in many of our waterfront projects. So I'm wondering if I think maybe we could lump that in, improving access to the East River Esplanade and Randall's Island in this budget request. I recommended adding this request. Like I said, we have room for more capital requests, and I don't think it hurts.
Yeah, I spoke to Jessica Elliott about it. I basically said, you know, Randall's Island can be positioned as an uptown Central Park where, you know, everyone go there and chill from all three boroughs. But now it's just so hard to get to.
Can we put, is there somehow we can add, Carly, to that additional crossing that it be walking, like something that, I know we already have like, the bridge that walks, but we know that that's kind of difficult at times. And maybe for like the colder months, people might not want to walk, but just so that it doesn't cost them, you know, a train, you know, a bus fare or something like that. And the walk can be sometimes pleasant too, on warmer days.
I'm sorry, what was the specific ask to add? I think I missed a little bit of it.
Like just making it, since so many people have like bikes and they walk and they have these scooters, make it to where it's another pathway, maybe a shorter pathway. I don't know if we can put shorter in there, but just like a pathway that would be friendly for pedestrians to, you know, to use their, you know, their bikes and their motorcycle, you know, their kind of little scooters, walking. I don't know if we can go as far as making it pleasant during the winter months, but something more accessible for pedestrians as opposed to, you know, cars or something like that.
We need a bus.
Minimal to, yeah, you guys might have seen me struggle with the spelling of cyclists. Don't judge me. How to think about it. Okay, the crossing should be amenable to bicyclists. I guess I could just call them cyclists. I'm trying to think of it. My only, something that comes up a lot in public safety and transportation is the issue with motorbikes and e-bikes and electric scooters and pedestrians, like causing an issue for pedestrians. So maybe we can include, like, you know, the crossing should include space for both pedestrians and cyclists. The crossing should. Other. I'm at a loss for words. Like, I don't know how to describe people who ride other personal vehicles.
Mini bikes, no, I would say mini bikes. Cyclists, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
those motorbikes are kind of considered. Right, so cyclists, pedestrians, and cyclists. I think that sounds good. I think we should keep it.
No. I'll just add something after, something about like the benefits of improving access to these spaces because it's EDC. Because I think that it is smart to submit this request to EDC. They generally have more access to capital than the Parks Department does. So, all right. So, so if I don't hear any objection, I'm going to consider it added. This next request, it's a request to improve streetscapes and districts to encourage commercial activity. I think Jessica's idea here was to widen the sidewalk and include bike infrastructure. I put revise here. I don't think it's a strong enough request as it stands. And I also think it's a request that is if this request were to go through, it would just go to Department of Transportation, and that's the Public Safety and Transportation Committee. And we're not, the work of this committee isn't to submit requests on behalf of another one. I see Eva has her hand raised, so you can go ahead, Eva.
Yeah, so for 116th Street, I think there are two things. One is the tree beds are in really bad shape. They're especially in front of Diana Ayala's office. They're just come in all shapes and form, and there's concrete on there, and there's metal railing that are too small. I think fixing up the tree bed will make a big difference. And then secondly, there is this proposal of Timble Terrace of an Afro-Latin jazz performance space. And when I heard about it, my immediate thinking is, why not have it being on 116th Street, because it's a commercial corridor. And it just seems that a performance space, a music performance space, should either be on 116 or 125th. That will attract more people to go to. Any thought about, can that help this request be more specific?
I think that the remark about the tree beds, I think that is a definitive streetscape improvement. Again, I always get a little bit confused with these EDC requests. They say in their reference, in the budget request reference guide, that these are acceptable, appropriate responses for EDC. However, whenever we do submit these sorts of requests that kind of overlap agency areas, they wind up just transferring it to the other one. So, my concern with submitting the request as it stands is it being converted to DOT. My concern about including requests about tree beds, it will be transferred to New York City Parks, which is already a request we have about the maintenance of tree pits, of not just street trees themselves, but the area around it. So I think that, yeah. And then as far as the other some of the other feedback you gave about the jazz center, the Latin jazz center, that I don't believe that fits into this request. And I also think that is a conversation to be had at the land use committee. But yeah, thank you, Eva, as always, for your feedback. So I'm wondering if the other committee members have a thought, should we include this? Should we include a request to, improve this, improved streetscape as it relates to sidewalk widening, bike infrastructure, and tree pits? We would also need to flesh out this request, because this, as it exists right now, isn't a request.
Yeah. So the railing that you put around the tree beds, how is it funded?
So the railing, so my understanding is that tree beds, so property owners, whether it's a residential building or a commercial building or commercial business there, it's not the city my understanding is that the city themselves does not fund the tree guard, and that's often something that's done in collaboration with partner organizations. I know, for example, the tree bed in front of CB11, prior to COVID happening, we were trying, and budget cuts happening, we were trying to work with New York City Street Trees to bring, I think that's what the name of the organization is, to get a tree rail guard in the tree pit in front of CB11, and then COVID happened, and then budget cuts happened. That wasn't a priority any longer, but that wasn't something that was funded from city parks. That's something that we had to apply for through New York City Parks, and then that would have come out of the board's operating budget. So it's not something that's a budget request.
What about if we add, Carly, would it turn into a budget request if we were to request lighting around the tree? Like, not so much the rail, but I don't know, I've seen like further downtown where they have like the trees and like these lights that kind of project upwards. Would it become a city request, or is that also an improvement that you know, the landlord or the business in front would do?
Yeah, I actually don't know the answer to that question. So if anybody else does, feel free to jump in. I'm not too sure. I do think that I'm not sure. So if anybody else has that answer, just feel free.
In that, we hold off on the or should we hold off on the request? And I'm asking this to the committee members.
I mean, 116th Street really needs help. Can we go to Parks Department, you know, the entry from Parks, and explicitly call out the fact that 116th Street tree beds really need help? I think it's in one of the worst shape of all the streets.
We can certainly include locations on the budget request. I'm sorry, I'm beginning to get tired. We can certainly include locations. I don't think that this request is fleshed out enough. Unless the committee wants to explicitly write the request right now on the floor, then I don't think that we should include it.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, can we send a request to the Park Committee to make their request, to put 116 on their request? They said they already have a request to improve street trees, but to call out 116th Street explicitly.
Yeah, I think that's maybe something for them to discuss at the executive committee. At this point, you know, all of our committees have met, and we're not, the practice that we're sticking by is, you know, we're talking about eco-dev request right now. If you want to follow up with Jessica following the meeting, you're certainly free to do so.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to switch to staff recommendation to remove. And I'm gonna, unless anybody, you know, says otherwise, I'm gonna put remove here. Okay. So we're gonna move on to expense requests. You know, keep in mind, we're already over. So we want to be especially scrupulous. So this first request is to provide or expand occupational skills training program. This is a workforce development request to stimulate the East Harlem workforce and economy. Staff recommends revising it to read instead, allocate funding for more workforce development programs that provide certification, technical training programs, and enhancement of occupational skills. Do we have any comments on that request?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna keep it as, well, I'll do revise because that's what Angel put in. So this request is an occupational skills training program that Angel recommended removing and combining with above. So this explanation above is a combination between these two. And generally we were trying to condense requests to combine existing requests that, you know, might have echoed each other to save some space for the expense requests. Does the committee?
I think that's a good idea, Carly. We can combine it with the one below, and then maybe perhaps can we give the same reasoning for both?
Yeah, so no, it's this was combined with the request above. The so 8E and 3E were combined. So this right here, this is the combination between these two.
Okay.
Seeing no further hands, I'm
So
going
we
to move
would
on to the next
remove-
request.
Yes. So we would remove
Sorry,
the.
Giselle.
It's okay. We would remove this because it says remove. The first one said revise, the second one says remove. Is there anything that anyone feels that the second one, like any information from the second one, we should move up to the first one in terms of under the reasoning where it says due to the rising unemployment? Or does that matter, Carly? Does the reason matter more
So I'm not sure. I think that the reasoning that Angel had, you know, he wrote this up here. I think his thinking was that this covers the two, and I know it's shorter. The idea was also to be more concise, but I'm happy to add further language if the committee has further language they want to add and make sure that it's not missed.
Okay, I see what you mean. I think it pretty much says the same thing to look. This is all an effort to stimulate the East Harlem workforce and economy, which also means connecting local residents with employment opportunities and growing. Can we just add somewhere where in growing industries, whether it could Harlem workforce economy in growing industries?
Yeah. Allocate funding for more workforce development programs, provide certification, technical training programs, an enhancement of occupational skills in growing industries. I feel like the sentence there is a little funny. I can't put my finger on it, but allocate funding. I don't know if we need to say programs twice. Provide certification and technical training. An enhancement of occupational skills. Right, I'm gonna switch this. And unless I feel like enhancement of occupational skills, does that just mean like career development?
Occupational skills. Yeah, yeah, maybe career development, technical training and career development. I think that's a little bit more specific, like it's a little bit more clear in growing industries. I think that sounds good if everyone else is okay with that.
Eva has her hand raised.
Go ahead, Eva.
I think career development is needed. I just want to say that, you know, I've been involved in the last 3 years in helping to connect youth with employment and job training opportunities. And the reality is there are more training than what people want to take advantage of. And many organizations have a hard time recruiting young people to join even the training program. Even program that pays people to get trained have a hard time recruiting people. So I'm not really sure what the right answer is. But certainly unemployment rate is high and we need to help people. I don't know how to help them.
Yeah. That insight would have been helpful at our Youth and Education Committee, because we have like a number of requests specifically focusing on youth workforce development.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe allocating the funding for these workforce development programs and having them identify what are the reasons that, you know, that Eva just brought up as to why it's so hard to get people to, you know, get to these. Maybe the funding of this request can help these programs identify how they can get more, you know, why people are not you know, joining and participating.
Yeah, I think some sort of peer mentorship program, maybe. But I think certainly at least any workforce program need to pay people to get trained.
I included a bit about outreach.
Yeah.
And that was also like a general trend we saw.
And a better way to incentivize people to participate in this program. Maybe allocate funding to better incentivize people to attend training.
Okay. I would improve outreach.
Yeah. I mean, I heard from some of these programs, the dropout rate is just crazy. Even if they manage to hire enough students, they end up with very few people graduating.
Eva, you think it could be the, I mean, this is maybe off topic, but do you think it could be the actual instructors?
It's pretty consistent, and it's with organizations that are, as far as I know, are good. Yes, I doubt it.
Okay.
I mean, some of the youth coordinator are saying that the young people have a hard time even just consistently showing up in classes, and to kind of get rewarded after 6 months is too long of a time to wait. They don't have that kind of patience.
Right, like they need jobs now.
I think that.
Sorry.
I think that the issue you raise, Eva, is very multifaceted. And it's not, I think it's something that our committee should continue to explore. You know, the way I look at community boards, the way I view community boards is, or just generally advocacy in general, is that different stakeholders have different toolkits, different tools at their disposal to advocate for policy change. We have a few, our budget request and our statement of district needs. This is just one of our tools, and you know, there's always room for improvement. I don't necessarily think that the issue that you raise, it's certainly not like an issue that will be addressed through funding, but it is one that it's worth considering in general. We submit all of these budget requests, and in theory, they're all great ideas, but you know, we can certainly raise the question, you know, how effective is this singular program that we are advocating for? How effective is it in actually improving an issue that we set out to improve? Or I'm appreciative that you raise it.
Well, I think you updated the write-up, and which is great. Right, the last sentence, I think that incorporated thinking, so thank you.
No problem. Okay, before I go off on another tangent, it is 9, so let's move on. I don't see any further hand raised. So this is combined above. This next one is a request that Angel recommends keeping. So this is the assist with on-site business compliance with city regulations, COVID-19 safety regulations. City agencies must prioritize having this information readily available. This also has to do with like fines to local businesses, unfairly placed fines, and inadequate treatment from city agency inspectors. So the staff recommends keeping it. I will now take committee feedback.
I think we should keep it, Carly. I think that it's still very, very important with all the stuff changing, you know, all these new rules and things that are being implemented, open streets, you know, open restaurants, open streets too. Yeah, so I think we should keep it. What do you think, Eva?
Yeah.
All right, keeping it easy. Let's move on. This next request is for New York Public Library. This has to do with extending library hours to operate 7 days a week. And the staff recommends keeping it.
What is the usage rate of library in East Harlem?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I do know that we have some of our libraries are closed. Like I know that the 125th Street Library is closed for renovations. So yeah, I know that's the case. And I know that 110th Street has, I'm not sure. The short answer is I'm not sure what the usage rate is in East Harlem.
I think nonetheless, we should keep it. I remember NYPL saying that, you know, to get past the renovation, and then once it's open, that's something that, you know, they can go into, but they need funding for, like, obviously the workers and the, you know, the staff that's going to be running it during operating hours. But I think that definitely, if we have one, if not 2 libraries that are operating 7 days a week, or one at least that's operating 7 days a week, that would be great.
Okay, seeing no further hands, I'm going to move on. This next request is to SBS preservation of East Harlem's authenticity as a historical landmark needs to be maintained. Funding for Avenue NYC. The response SBS gave was that SBS is available for technical assistance. A sponsor group needs to apply to the agency through its funding process. Staff recommends removing it because this request is incumbent on, it relies on a sponsor group, an organization to apply specifically for that funding. So this process, we don't believe, is best suited for this request. I'll open it up to feedback. Jenny, I'm not sure if you have something to say. I see you've unmuted yourself.
Yeah, sorry, that was an accident, but I'm okay with removing it. I agree.
Thank you, Jenny. Sorry for just calling on you. All right, I'm gonna remove it unless, you know, I hear any impassioned pleas not to. Okay, moving on to the next one. This is a request to EDC expand programs for certain industries, for example, fashion, film, advanced food and manufacturing, life sciences, healthcare. This is just about attract growing industries to East Harlem. The staff recommended revising it to EDC should implement incentives to attract growing industries to East Harlem, especially businesses that are STEM related, thereby providing additional career opportunities for local residents. Eva, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I actually thought about submitting something like this, but I was thinking more that we need some sort of consulting project to help kind of, I feel like, identify how to rebrand certain part of East Harlem so that we have some sort of business focus. You know, what do we have competitive advantage in? For example, so it's almost like before just incentive. Can we add that to this request? Like perform a study.
That's a good idea.
I will say that that SBS has done a needs assessment survey, like a needs assessment of East Harlem. I want to say kind of recently. I'm not sure if someone can speak to exactly when. I want to say it was in like 2018 or 2019. I see Carrie has her hand raised, and I had Carrie in mind. Go ahead, Carrie.
Yay. I think it was longer ago than that. It was because we did it. Union Settlement and Uptown did it, and Hope Community. We were the 3 research partners. I'll see if I can find it and drop it in the chat, but I think it was like 2017 maybe. You know, and that looked at like vacancies and just overall business related data, what people thought about the streets, what people thought about the businesses, and I think Community Board 11 actually did one that showed the types of businesses that residents of East Harlem were going to other neighborhoods to shop for versus staying in the neighborhood. That was even earlier, maybe 2016, 2015. But Eva, can you say again what you said? Because I didn't fully understand. Like you're saying like about tourism, like there should be a tourism study.
No, the business study, how do we position East Harlem as a business district? You know, how some districts have a lot of furniture store and everyone, you know, interior designer go and buy furniture. Others are gallery, you know, others would be, you know, Chinatown, Koreatown. Right now, East Harlem doesn't really have a personality or characteristic.
I mean, I would say like our largest category of business is restaurant, followed by like personal care, like hair salons and things like that. Yeah, I mean, I do think it would be interesting that I don't know how the community board did that study where they figured out like, and I'll try to find the link to that too, like what was needed and where people were shopping extra. And then it was like a calculated amount of East Harlem is losing $7 bazillion a year because people are shopping elsewhere for these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
people to come into the district.
Right. And then that, you know, it requires like a look at like, you know, what is the average income of East Harlem residents? What are the services and needs they need? Let me look. I'm going to drop this in the chat. I didn't mean to talk so much. Sorry, Carly. I know people are like, oh my God.
Do not apologize. I also realized I skipped one, but we'll go back to it. That was helpful, Carrie. Don't apologize. Yeah, so I will push back just a little bit, Eva. I don't know, like I hear what your request, what you're saying and proposing. I think that this request that we're reviewing right now is talking about, you know, bringing growing industry. Like I think that.
Yeah, you know what? Let's just keep it as is. I'm good.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And this is great.
All right. All right. I'm going to go back up here to this request that I skipped. The staff recommended removing this request. The request was to funding the development of the art and culture of East Harlem, especially in the wake of reopening our local businesses. The response we got was to bring it to the attention of our elected officials. I think this might speak to like the branding that you mentioned, Eva. However, Angel had felt that this was probably better to address in the statement of district needs, since it's less of a budget request, more of like a need, and pursue it through the committee. Just because I think this is a request that has been submitted over and over, and it got this request, which is, to bring it to the attention of our electeds. So, rather than waste prime expense budget request real estate, try something new toward that effort. So yeah, recommendation by the staff was to remove it. Does the committee agree with the recommendation to remove? If I hear no objections, I will remove it. Okay, removing it. All right. This next request is to SBS about I'm just going to read it. Due to the extraordinary circumstances caused by the pandemic, funding is needed, as well as the collaboration with MTA, Sanitation, Department of Transportation to protect the interest of longstanding local businesses, to ensure customer accessibility to all places of business on the 2nd Avenue Subway, Phase 2, outreach and response. Response by SBS was to accommodate within existing resources. Angel, the staff, recommended removing this and addressing it as a need to plan for in the statement of district need, and pursue through the Economic Development and Culture Committee with MTA, DOT, and SBS. Yeah. So yeah, the recommendation was to remove it and incorporate it into other advocacy efforts.
I agree.
Okay, moving on to the next one. Oh, the last one. Okay, so this is a request submitted by Eva to SBS to support local community-based organizations' efforts to improve a public space through management, maintenance, and programming, to help revitalize the 125th Street commercial corridors, fund a nonprofit with credible messengers or crime reduction specialists to work with individuals loitering on the nearby streets. This approach is similar to programs such as Mayor Action Plan, but applied to 125th Street and not NYCHA housing. First, the organization should perform a survey of who's on the streets, where they come from, why they're in Harlem, what help they need. Then this group will help connect the population with social resources, host more frequent events with Uptown Grand Central. This organization should help recruit some of the people on the street as workers to host events, to work for a positive workforce. This way, people who are considered the problem on the street can actively contribute to the betterment of the community. An organization called Neighborhood Benches can be a candidate to perform this work. So I think it's a good idea. I just recommend revising it to make it a little bit more concise. I would be happy to hear committee feedback.
Eva, does this, how is it different from the one prior to the 125th request? I believe it was the first one that you submitted.
Oh, that one is really a capital project of building Uptown Grand Central. This is very much more like an expense project to have a team of crime reductionists to help disperse some of the people and also help people connect with social services and activate the space with activities. So similar to what Carrie has been doing, but it's more finding more people to help her, I think, best way to think about it. I mean, I was more inspired.
That's so great.
Yeah, but I was inspired by Mayor Action Plan, right? That's what they do in NYCHA housing. They hold activities, they connect people, they try to recruit people from NYCHA housing to work in their project. So I was just thinking, you know, why not do the same on 125th Street? So, you know, for example, Vinny has the positive workforce. We can potentially recruit some of the people loitering on the street to even help clean the street themselves. I've heard other districts that have done that successfully.
I will say, yeah, like with the cleanup corps, we now have a bunch of people from the cleanup corps, and that's great. You know, they have to go through like a process through HRA to get the job, and like go through like a, you know, a process. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of flow. It depends on like who we're talking, like who are we talking about to target, like the people that are hanging out on the street. You know, that population is very transient, so it's hard to get them consistently involved with anything. I mean, there's some people that are not transient, that they hang out there every day. You know, and sometimes they do, you know, they do get a broom and clean up a little bit. It's just a question, I think, of a lot of the people that are out there need such significant help to become stable that it's a lot of times the challenge for positive workforces, you know, and for us is to get, you know, for people to have a job or to do anything stable, like they have to report to work at a normal time. They have to, you know, like there has to be like, and that I think is the challenge, is a lot of the people are just not able to fulfill.
Yeah, I think most people cannot. So I reached out to this organization called Neighborhood Benches because they've been doing this in NYCHA housing. And they kind of explained to me, you know, what they do. And I thought that could be applicable. I mean, if you like, we can invite them to the committee to give a presentation. I mean, it can be other organizations too. I think that these organizations, and there are not many in New York City, they're basically a group of people who used to be part of the criminal element, right? Who then basically turn their life around, and their goal is to help people who were in the same situation they were in and help them get better. But this, so, and in the process, they also activate the space and make the space just safer, which is kind of what they do in NYCHA, so other people can, you know, walk on common space without worrying gunshot, right? So I think my general idea is to apply this approach to 125th Street that can kind of strengthen what Carrie's been doing really well and touch some of the people that, you know, she's not in a position to talk to or help. Because these people have the unique kind of language ability or ability to relate to, you know, folks on the street.
Yeah, I think the strongest part of this request, Eva, is the mention of credible messengers.
Yeah, that's the idea, exactly.
Yeah.
Because no offense, Carrie, you're not quite credible with them.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, it's a different type of language, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that this request just needs a little bit of tweaking. But I think keeping the core message, which is the you know, allocating funding to a nonprofit or a group toward, you know, it just, you know, basically recruiting people with similar lived experiences to help in efforts, help get people who are on 125th Street and our major corridors, get the support that they need.
And also, I think to activate and revitalize the space at the same time.
Yeah. And in doing so, and I believe that in doing so, in getting people the support that they need, one of the results of that is revitalizing the space. At least I think that's what I interpreted
I agree. I think I just want to add another element, which is, when they have activities, it also kind of disperse people, and it draws in more people to come into the space. So I don't want it to be, just helping the people on the street. Which is why I propose it to EcoDev. Because in human services, we did add a request of just, adding outreach worker. But I don't know, Carrie, what do you think?
Well, one way to sync it all together, I don't know if this is actually the way to sync it all together, but so this cleanup corps that we have, so in the backstory behind this is the mayor announced in the spring that he wanted to hire 10,000 people to clean the streets. So that happened in the spring. It's taken this long to get them hired. So they're now hired. We now have like 40 people. We just got some new ones today. And so this program is supposed to last for six months. Now, what ends up happening is you get people who are entry level, like you're saying, Eva. Not all of them are from 125th, but we put in a request that they all be from East Harlem. So they're all coming from like a few blocks away, mostly. And what that's doing is, previously we had like 6 guys on the street cleaning, and that was who we could fundraise for. Now we have just massive hordes of people just like rolling down the sidewalk with brooms and trash cans. So it's kind of just giving a visual cue that we clean, and that's great. So that's funded for 6 months, and there's talk that program should be funded for longer. So yeah, I don't know how to word it, however, but like that's another thing, to continue as well, that the city cleanup corps continue to be funded for high needs areas such as 125th. You could say 116th. You could, add, because there are some, because Pablo also has some city cleanup corps people on 116th and I think 3rd Avenue. So.
I see Jennifer has her hand raised. Thank you, Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to go off Carrie's point, I live on 125th, and I've definitely noticed the people out there cleaning, and they are such like a welcome. And I think building off of what already exists, and if we can, I would love for that program just to last forever. So I think that like utilizing the resources we already have, the people that are already trained and hired, seems like a great idea.
So is the recommendation to, revise this request as it exists? And if so, can you propose some language just to help me out a little bit?
I think let's delete the sentence. This approach is similar to programs such as my action plan, so we can shorten it. Do anyone feel like performing a survey is a good idea?
Yes, I think that's a good idea, Eva.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's hard to get people to tell you where they're from. Just having been out there with the outreach teams, people, who are you? Why are you asking me?
No, that's why I'm suggesting Credible Messenger to do the survey. Because I've seen the social workers trying to ask questions and there's no answer.
Right.
Which is why, I feel like the city agency are pointing fingers at each other, these are your people, those are your people. No one even know where they're from. So I was thinking, yeah, maybe the credible messenger has the chance of even understanding what people are doing on the street. So actually, one of the founders used to live on East Harlem, around there, which is why when I heard about that, I just snatched onto them. Carrie, if you have time, I get them to meet with you.
Yeah, that would be great. I think you mentioned that before, which is good.
That's so busy. But yeah, I actually walk on the street and I'm like, this guy know everyone around there. Or not everyone, like quite a lot of people. Okay, so besides help recruiting workers, maybe just add that this organization can help support Uptown Grand Central in street activities, in holding street activities to activate the space.
Organization can support Uptown Grand Central. Activating.
I don't know, Carrie, what do you think?
Yeah, I was gonna say that the borough president, I don't know how it feeds in with all this, but the borough president is asking that a lot of the millions of dollars from the settlements with the pharmaceutical companies that make all the opioid drugs, that go into funding these sort of like huge, enormous programs that eat a lot of money, that are important for streetscape. So like the money from that go to, to help people in recovery, but also help communities in recovery. So, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, she actually, I think, talk about credible messenger too. So yeah.
Do you feel, I'm sorry, I was focused on typing up this request. Do you feel that this language represents that? Carrie and Eva, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of organizations at some point, like a lot of the bids in Midtown hire security, and I don't think like having some kind of element that can help organize people, but is not like that's just a force of good would be really powerful.
Yeah, no, I know exactly, right? Because people are sensitive to even seeing security guard, forget about police, but they kind of function like security guard, but they help connect people with proper social resources instead of just pushing them away.
Right.
Okay. I also tried to include the cleanup force. I'm not sure if I called it what it's called. Please feel free to correct me.
It's City Cleanup Corps.
Right.
You're really close. I'm sending you virtual coffee.
It's been a long day.
I know.
Yeah, losing steam. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to point to what Jennifer had mentioned. We don't want to duplicate efforts. We want to support existing efforts, but also identify certain gaps in service. And I think ultimately this is an important request to include. So thank you, Eva. Okay, so that's it on the list, and I do know that Giselle's hand raised. I know that she had a couple requests she wanted to bring forward, and then that'll be it. Thanks everybody for your patience.
I wanted to mention, I'm not sure if this is capital or expense, but I wanted to mention like helping the businesses go green, but like really, really, I'm not sure if this would be for like EDC or SBS. I'm thinking SBS only because like the amount of, like, not only is there a problem with like all the garbage, right, in East Harlem, all the like bags and bags of just, and a lot of it is stuff that could be not just recyclable, but I feel like replaced in its entirety. But businesses sometimes like they don't know where to start because usually going green is more expensive. So if we can maybe perhaps allocate funding through these budget requests for a program to help our businesses just go green, like from to-go cups to napkins, straws, all of the, not just in restaurants, I'm thinking in like restaurant language, but like you know, even paper, bags, garbage bags, like just things that, can really help reduce, number one, the amount of trash and garbage that is constantly being seen in our district, and then also, help the businesses not have to come out of pocket for that change so much. And then I think it'll happen faster if we can get funding. If we can somehow allocate funding for that, it'll happen faster.
Definitely think it's SBS.
Okay.
And then I just looked at the budget request reference guide. They don't have anything specific for that, but that's okay. I think that other business regulatory assistance requests will cover it as long as we explain it in the reasoning.
We could say, funding is needed to facilitate the process in like a much more effective and faster way for funding is needed to assist. Should we say businesses, or can we say to assist? I say we can say, yeah, local businesses or businesses in general, yeah. With a more rapid like process, a more rapid, I would say, transition. Yeah, there you go. Transition to going. Can we say going green? Because transitioning.
Maybe
do you want to say that subsidize businesses in initiatives to improve environmental sustainability?
That sounds great.
Definitely something. Okay. Environmental.
Yeah, I think subsidize, direct subsidy probably is the best way.
Carrie put something in the chat too. Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah, it could be even, to insulate the wall better so you spend less money on AC. I mean, there's so many things.
Yes. Funding is needed to assist local businesses in environmental sustainability.
Yeah, that's not a great wording. That's me. I did that. I'm just trying to do it on the floor. So
this is its own initiative.
I would say just go ahead, Eva.
To subsidize businesses' own initiatives to improve environmental sustainability.
Do you mind typing that and putting it into the chat? Funding is needed to, or subsidy.
Wait, are we doing hands or do you mean just talk?
You can talk. You can just talk.
Okay, I was like, they got their hands up, but I don't know. The reason I put this up is So there was a commercial organics requirement that was passed for businesses in 2020. And due to COVID, the penalties for that are being extended. There's not going to be any penalties issued until July of 2022. So just all this is a great point, because if this law is, the penalties are going to affect, then there is going to need to be a lot of outreach, not only on a, just a good for the community type way, but also so the businesses don't get fined. So I don't know if, Carly, if any of that language should be in, in advance of the commercial organics requirements rulemaking.
Yeah, like instead of getting, I would say, instead of, like you said, finding the business, which would just give the city more money, allocate funding so that, because it's, I think it's in like best efforts, and maybe we can put that somehow in the reasoning. It's in our best interest for everyone to go green, because it's creating such a big problem, and on all levels. I mean, not just city, but the whole ecosystem is really deteriorating at a very fast rate. So if we can help the businesses as opposed to punishing them or giving them a fine, let me also write in the chat.
There was also the change, they were working on a change because business, I don't know how many people on the call know this, but so businesses are required to have their own private haulers. And off the record, some businesses do that and some businesses don't do that. Some people just don't ever get fined. But they were trying to make a different rule where the commercial haulers would be zoned so that you wouldn't have, just on 125th Street, we probably have 10 different companies doing the hauling. So that's a lot of trucks going back and forth hauling the same trash from the same area. So yeah, there could be so many better ways to do it.
I can make it a little bit nicer, specify what the law is. They're ensure they're in compliance with the law. Just sounds very finger pointy. Further funding is needed to incentivize businesses to transition to more sustainable business practices, which is, I think, what Giselle was trying to say.
I'm just reading, sorry.
Okay. So what do we think, committee? Do we accept this recommendation?
Yeah.
Okay. And all right, and you said you had one more, Giselle, before we wrap up?
Yes, I think it was just and it probably goes back to one of the other ones where it said, the one that Angel said to remove when it came to when it came to the one with the programs, it's pretty much just the trainings that we give, the occupational trainings and all the skilled career development advancement, if it can somehow link to an internship opportunity to accredited courses like Department of Education, and then can those internships provide main employers through Con Edison, MTA, hospitals, NYC parks, not just with these big, with these city agencies, can these development trainings, technical trainings somehow, kind of the next step would be take it to a city agency that can provide an internship, even if they don't get to hire them afterwards. But the training program, it would start with the training program and then move to the internship, but through these city agencies. And then later on, perhaps maybe lead to a job or not. The city should offer internships. members.
So am I correct in assuming you wanted to provide, like, incorporate that into this first request?
I think so, yeah, I think so. I don't think there's a need to make a whole new, it pretty much says, you know what, so the city should offer internships, and then internships to participants and following the certification, or training, then the internship would lead to an internship. So I think we can put following the certification and training programs, but with the city agencies such as, can we mention MTA, Con Edison, Department of Education, NYC Parks? Can we mention those?
Yeah, she should offer. Offer internships with city agencies or
City agencies should, okay.
to offer direct internships. Do you think that covers it?
Can we put paid internships? Internships. Yes.
MTA, EEP.
Con Edison, MTA, local.
Look, I know that, like, HPD, for example, I know that they have like code enforcement workers, and they get paid a good amount. So
What about hospitals?
no,
No.
I don't know.
We can put it over there.
I was lying if I said
I
I
know
knew.
hospitals are, I just say it because like hospitals are like hiring now a lot, and maybe they might need the extra staff to offer paid internships to participants following the certification and training programs. Yes, that sounds perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we finally finished. I know that was long, but I hope that you all found that fruitful. All right, we're done.
Amazing. Thank you, Carly. Oh my gosh. Everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for dedication.
Okay, so let me just turn on the light for that. Trying to go green. Okay, new business. Do we have any new business? Nope. Okay, let's go to old business. Any old business? I don't see any. Okay, I guess if no one has anything else further to add to old business, we can move on to roll call.
Right. Riha,
Here.
Chan,
Here.
Horton,
Here.
Mac, Malave,
Here.
Meyer,
Here.
Perez, Sanders, Torres, Chomsky, Whitaker. All right. At some point in the meeting, you lost quorum, but that's okay. All right, that's all.
Thank
mean,
you,
it's not
everyone. Good night.
Good night. Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you all.
Ooh, Tamika, hang on.